Good day, class. For this session, we will talk about solving equations involving absolute value. Our objective for today will be solve equations involving absolute value. Okay, so let's try the following. Let's identify the absolute value of the following numbers. Let's say the absolute value of positive 3. That is positive 3. Okay? Then the absolute value of 2.5, we have 2.5. Absolute value of negative 7, we have positive 7. Absolute value of negative 4.8, that is positive 4.8. Okay, as you can see, all the answers here are positive numbers, okay? Though here we have negative numbers, when we identify their absolute value, the answer is positive, okay? So, before I forgot, the symbol for absolute value is this two bars, okay? This two bars. It means absolute value. Now, my question is, tell me if it is true or false. The absolute value of a number is always positive. Okay, given this result, is it true that the absolute value of a number is always positive? Okay, the correct answer is false. Not always positive. Okay, because the absolute value of 0 is equal to 0. And we all know that the sign of 0 is neutral. Okay, it is not positive and also not negative. Okay, so not positive, it means that the absolute value of a number is always non-negative. Okay, it means the whole number from 0 to positive infinity. Again, the absolute value of a number is always non-negative. Okay, the absolute value of a number is non-negative. The absolute value of a number is either positive or 0. Okay? Okay, what if we have this equation? The absolute value of x is equal to 5. So, we have here an absolute value in the variable. Okay, what are we going to do? You have to take note that if x is equal to 5, if this x is equal to 5, the answer is 5, right? Positive, positive 5. And if x is equal to negative 5, so when we substitute negative 5 here, the answer is also 5. Therefore, this solution or this answer, 5 and negative 5, will make this equation true, right? So we have the same or same sign, 5, positive 5, positive 5, and the opposite, so positive 5, negative 5. That is the solution or answer for this equation. The same and opposite sign. Okay, those are the two solutions. If this is positive. However, if we have this equation, the absolute value of x is equal to negative 2. Okay, kindly think of a number wherein when we find its absolute value, the answer is negative 2. There's none, right? Because we all know that the absolute value of a number is either positive or 0, right? Non-negative. Since here we have negative, therefore we can say that it has no solution. Okay? Again, absolute value of x is equal to negative 2. There's no there's no number wherein when we find its absolute value, the answer is negative 2. That's why we have no solution. you have to take note that in absolute value property, if the absolute value of the variable is equal to a, where x is a variable or an expression, and a is greater than or equal to 0, then the absolute value of that expression is the same sign and opposite sign of a. Okay, again, if this a is non-negative, so from 0 to positive numbers, the answer or the solution should be its same sign or opposite sign. Okay? However, if this a will be negative, therefore the answer is no solution, like this one. -2, therefore no solution. Here we have +5, therefore we have the same sign and opposite sign as our solution. Okay, so are these are the steps on how to solve absolute value equations. Number one, isolate the absolute value so that the equation is in the form of the absolute value of a times x plus b is equal to c. Okay, we have to isolate the expression on the left side of equal symbol. Okay, that is our first step. If c is less than 0, the equation has no solution. If this c is negative, automatically, you don't need to compute because the equation has no solution or no answer. Okay? So, step number 2, separate the absolute value into two equations. After isolating the absolute value, you have to separate it, or you have to separate the absolute value into two equations. Like for instance, we have the absolute value. So this absolute value, we will get this as a times x plus b, then c, or equals to c, and another, we have a times x plus b, so same, but now we will use -c to represent the same and opposite sign. Okay, same and opposite sign. Again, first, isolate the absolute value. Then after that, separate the absolute value into two equations wherein you have to get the expression inside the absolute value, like this two. Then after that, equate it to the same and opposite sign of our expression on the right side. Okay, then step number 3, you have to solve both equations. Okay, then the result will be the solution. For example, the absolute value of 3 minus 2x plus 5 is equal to 9. As you can see, aside from this absolute value, we also have plus 5 on the left side of the equation. And based on our first step, we have to isolate the absolute value. Therefore, here, this plus 5 will be put on the other side of the equation. How is that possible? You have to use addition property of equality, wherein you have to add -5 to both sides. When you add -5 to both sides, equality remains, right? So, to eliminate this +5, you have to add -5. So, +5 plus -5 is 0. Then 9 plus -5 is 4. We now have 3 minus 2x is equal to 4. Okay, the absolute value is now isolated. Okay, on the left side. Then we have now 4. And 4 is positive. Therefore, we have two solutions here. After isolating the absolute value, we now have proceed to step number 2, wherein we have to separate the two absolute value equation. Okay, we have two cases. Okay, wherein the first case is the same expression wherein the value at the right side of the equal symbol has the same sign. Then another case is we have opposite sign. That's why we have here same then opposite. Okay, so get this 3 minus 2x. So 3 minus 2x. Then copy 4. As you can see, same, right? Same. We just remove the absolute value bars. Then opposite, we have 3 minus 2x. Okay, copy. Then the opposite of 4 is negative 4. That's why we have here negative 4. Now, for step number 3, let's solve. Okay? As you can see, copy 3 minus 2x. Then, same, 4, 4. Opposite, negative 4, 4. Okay? Now, let's solve the equations. Here, we have to isolate x. Okay, we have to isolate x. We have to isolate first this negative 2x, and to make it possible, we have to remove this 3. How is that possible? By using addition property of equality. We have to add negative 3 to both sides. Okay, to eliminate this 3. Because when we add 3 and negative 3, the answer is 0, right? So, we will be having here negative 2x because 3 plus negative 3 is 0. That's why we have here negative 2x. Then 4 plus negative 3 is equal to 1. Okay? Then how are we going to simplify this? We have to divide both sides of the equation by the numerical coefficient of x. What is the numerical coefficient of x? That is negative 2. Therefore, divide both sides by negative 2. We use division property of equality. So our answer here is, this will be equal to 1. That's why we have x is equal to negative 1 half. So our first solution is equal to negative 1 half. On the other hand, let's solve this opposite. So let's solve the equation. Same process. We have to isolate x. And to make it possible, we have to eliminate this 3 by adding negative 3 to both sides. Okay? Add the opposite. So 3 plus negative 3 is 0. That's why we have negative 2x only here. Then negative 4 plus negative 3 is equal to negative 7. Okay, then after that, let's divide both sides by the numerical coefficient of x, which is negative 2. So divide both sides by negative 2. So this will be equal to 1. That's why we have x. And negative 7 divide negative 2. Okay, we divided two negative numbers. The answer is equal to positive. That's why we have 7 over 2. Okay, so our x, or our value of x, is negative 1 half and 7 over 2. So our solutions would be negative 1 half and 7 over 2. Okay, these values will make this equation true. These are the answers or solutions. Next, we have the absolute value of 3k minus 1 minus 4 is equal to 6. Okay, as you can see, we have here minus 4, and based on our first step, we have to isolate the absolute value. Okay, in that case, Let's isolate this by adding the opposite of negative 4. That is positive 4. Okay, add positive 4 to both sides. Therefore, this is 0. That's why we have the absolute value of 3k minus 1. Then 6 plus 4 is equal to 10. Okay, after that, let's have two cases. Okay, we have here same and opposite. Okay, copy 3k minus 1. Then same sign of 10. So 10. Copy 3k minus 1. Then opposite of positive 10 is negative 10. Okay, after separating the two cases, let's solve. Okay, let's solve this. First, you have to isolate the variable. Here we have 3k. Let's isolate it by removing this negative 1. And to make it possible, we have to add its opposite to both sides. So we will add positive 1 to both sides. So 3k minus 1 is equal to 10, then plus 1 plus 1. This will be equal to 0, and this will be equal to 11. Okay, so 3k plus 0 is 3k, then 10 plus 1 is 11. To solve this, you have to divide both sides by the numerical coefficient of the variable, which is 3, right? So divide both sides by 3. This is equal to 1. That's why we have k is equal to 11 over 3. So this is our first solution. Next, let's solve this. Same process. We have to eliminate negative 1 by adding positive 1 or its opposite to both sides. So this will be equal to 0. That's why we have 3k. Negative 10 plus positive 1 is negative 9. And to solve this, we have to divide both sides by the numerical coefficient of the variable, which is 3. So divide both sides by 3. This is equal to 1. That's why we have k is equal to negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. So this is the other solution. So our answer is negative 3 and 11 over 3. This solution or these values will make this equation true. How about this one? The absolute value of x plus 7 plus 12 is equal to 7. Again, isolate this absolute value by removing this 12. And to make it possible, you have to add the opposite of 12 to both sides. So we have negative 12. So when we add 12 and negative 12, the answer is 0. That's why we have absolute value of x plus 7. Then when we add 7 and negative 12, the answer is negative 5. Now, as I said, if the value or if the sign of the expression on the right side of equal symbol, again, right side of equal symbol is negative, like negative 5, you don't need to continue to the second and third step because the answer is no solution. This equation has no solution. Okay? Because of this negative. Negative. How about this one? The absolute value of 2y plus 5 is equal to 0. As you can see, this absolute value is already isolated at the left side of the equal symbol. So we will proceed on the second step, right? So we have same and opposite. So copy 2y plus 5 to here. Then copy 0. Then let's compute. Isolate the variable at the left side. So to make it possible, we have to add the opposite of 5, which is negative 5. 5 plus negative 5 is 0. 0 plus negative 5 is negative 5. That's why we have 2y is equal to negative 5. To solve this, we have to divide both sides of the equation by the numerical coefficient, which is 2. So divide by 2. This is equal to 1. That's why y is equal to negative 5 over 2. Since our value or expression here at the right side of the equation is 0, there is no opposite. Why? Because 0 has no opposite. Okay? There is no negative 0. Okay? Because 0 is neutral, or the sign of 0 is neutral, not positive and not negative. That's why we only have this solution. So our answer is negative 5 over 2. Again, if the value here is equal to 0, therefore we only have one solution. We only have one answer. Let's now talk about absolute value equations with two absolute values. Here we will encounter two absolute value bars. Okay, we have absolute value at the left side and absolute value at the right side. You have to take note that the absolute value of 5 is equal to the absolute value of 5, and the absolute value of 5 is the same as the absolute value of negative 5. What does it mean? As you can see, same sign. However, here we have opposite. As you can see, we have here 5, then we have here negative 5, right? So the opposite of 5 is negative 5. How about the absolute value of negative 8 is equal to the absolute value of negative 8? So same sign. Then the absolute value of negative 8 is equal to the absolute value of positive 8, opposite sign. In that case, we have two cases, the same sign and the opposite sign. This is how are you going to identify the opposite of an expression. Okay, like for instance, how are we going to identify the opposite of x plus 4? That is by multiplying the negative to the whole expression. That is by multiplying negative to the whole expression. So negative times x plus 4. It means that you have to multiply negative and x, then negative and positive 4. That is equal to negative x and negative 4. Negative times x is negative x. Negative times positive 4 is negative 4. So this is the opposite of x plus 4. Okay? We multiplied negative. How about same process? We have to multiply negative. So negative times x is negative x. Negative times negative 7 is positive 7. So this is the opposite. This is the opposite of x minus 7. Then negative 2x plus 3. Same process. We have to multiply negative. Negative times negative 2x is positive 2x. Negative times 3 is negative 3. So we will use this as the opposite of negative 2x plus 3. Okay? So let's try the following. The absolute value of 2w plus 4 is equal to the absolute value of 3w minus 2. Okay, we have two cases, the same and opposite. what are you going to do is to get this 2w plus 4, then the same with this expression. That's why we have 3w minus 2. Okay? Then, when we are talking about opposite, we have to copy this 2w plus 4, then get the opposite of this expression. As you can see, we multiply, we have to multiply negative to 3w minus 2. Okay? So, let's solve this. As I said, you have to isolate a variable at the left side. But here, we have variable at the right side. In that case, we have to remove it. And to remove it, we have to add its opposite to both sides. Okay? So, add negative 3w to both sides of the equation. So, when we simplify it, we have 2w minus 2w plus negative 3w, that is negative w. Then copy plus 4, 3w plus negative 3w, that is 0, copy negative 2. Okay, now we have negative w plus 4 is equal to negative 2. So, as I said earlier, you have to isolate the variable. Therefore, we have to eliminate this by adding its opposite to both sides of the equation. So, add negative 4 to both sides. We now have negative w, this is 0, is equal to negative 2 plus negative 4 is negative 6. So, to eliminate negative, you have to take note that this variable should be positive. To make it possible, you have to divide both sides by negative 1. Okay? So, divide by negative 1. Negative w divide negative 1 is positive w. Negative 6 divide negative 1 is positive 6. This is our first solution. Next, let's simplify this. Okay, so when we multiply negative to 3w minus 2, we have negative 3w plus 2. Same process, we have to eliminate negative 3w here, okay, by adding its opposite to both sides. So, we will add positive 3w. We will add positive 3w. 2w plus 3w, we have 5w. Then copy plus 4. This will be 0. That's why copy 2. Okay? Then, let's isolate w or variable at the left side. We have to eliminate this 4 by adding its opposite. So, add negative 4 to both sides. So, this will be equal to 0. And we have 5w is equal to 2 plus negative 4 is negative 2. To solve this, we have to divide both sides by the numerical coefficient, which is 5. So, divide both sides by 5. This is equal to 1. Therefore, w is equal to negative 2 over 5. So, our solution here is negative 2 over 5 and 6. These are the solutions to make this equation true. Next, we have the absolute value of k plus 2 is equal to the absolute value of 3k plus 3. Okay, same process. We have two cases, same and opposite. Copy, then copy. That's why we have this. Then copy and find its opposite. We have this and this. Okay? So after that, after having two cases, let's solve this. Okay, negative, to avoid negative variable, let's try to eliminate this k at the left side. Okay? Let's add its opposite to both sides. So k plus negative k, that is equal to 0. That's why at the left side we have 2. Then 3k plus negative k is 2k. Copy plus 3. Okay? Then we will isolate k at the right side by adding the opposite of 3. So the opposite of 3 is negative 3. That's why we have 2 plus negative 3, that is negative 1. Then this is equal to 0. That's why we have 2k. So negative 1 is equal to 2k. To solve this, we have to divide both sides by the numerical coefficient of the variable, which is 2. Divide both sides by 2. This is equal to 1. That's why k is equal to negative 1 half. Okay? So as you can see, this is an example of reflexive property. We interchange the position of the quantity, but equality remains. Okay? So k is equal to negative 1 half. This is our first solution. Next, when we distribute negative or when we multiply negative, we will obtain negative 3k minus 3. That's why we have k plus 2 is equal to negative 3k minus 3. Okay, let's eliminate this negative 3k by adding its opposite. So let's add 3k to both sides. So k plus 3k is 4k. Then copy positive 2. Then negative 3k plus 3k is 0. That's why we have to copy negative 3. Okay, it is up to you if you want to eliminate this k or eliminate this 3k. The important thing is you do it properly, therefore you are able to obtain the same answer. Okay, so after computing, we have 4k plus 2 is equal to negative 3, but let's try to isolate this 4 by eliminating this positive 2. So let's add negative 2 to both sides. That's why we added negative 2. So let's simplify 4k. This would be equal to 0. That's why 4k is equal to negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5. To solve this, you have to divide both sides of the equation by the numerical coefficient, which is 4. So divide both sides by 4. This is equal to 1 because 4 divided 4 is equal to 1. So 1k or simply k is equal to negative 5 over 4. So our solution is negative 5 over 4 and negative 1 half. These values will make this equation true. Okay? Okay, now, to practice your skills, I want you to go to page 179, match problem 4.3.2. Again, so our steps in solving the absolute value equation, we have isolate the absolute value, then separate into two cases, then after that, solve. So that's all for today. Good day, class, and God bless you all.